Awesome. Welcome everyone who's joining us. I'm going to wait a couple minutes. If you're on Facebook, you're more than welcome to join us via the Zoom link if you'd like to join us for the webinar so you can interact with us a little bit more personally. But we're here on Valentine's Day for a special stargazing related event for SciStarter Live, referred to as Discover If the Stars Are Aligned for your Valentine's date night. Ooh. I wore my special pink blazer for the moment. I noticed neither of my colleagues here have pink on, which I'm a little sad about, but that's okay. That is all right. You two anti-pink, or are we just not feeling the...
Well, I have pink socks on. There you go. So,
there you go. Yeah, that works.
That's right. With my little bunny ears on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that'll be fun for when we get closer to April and Citizen Science Month. We might have to wear bunny ears for...
That's right. There you go.
Close to it. Yeah. For anyone who celebrates, we'll do an Easter one, maybe. I don't know. Actually, I haven't looked into bunny related projects. Maybe there's some fun ones like...
I'm sure it'd be a hopping new edition. So there you go.
Oh my gosh. Can you just come back and just make animal puns the entire time? Sounds like such a fun time.
There you go.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, while we're waiting for some of us to join in, I'll go ahead and get started just so we can stay on track for today. As a reminder for anyone who watches this later, and I believe that's one of our friends here joining us as well. This is a recorded event, so you will have access to this on our YouTube channel, and the follow-up email will also be sent out as well with the recording, as well as all the links that we promised to share after this. So again, welcome, Valentine's Day special of SciStarter Live. We're going to be discovering if the stars are aligned for your Valentine's date night. And today we have our regular team and our friend who's the SciStarter bot. I'm not positive if that's Darlene or Trevor, but maybe we'll find out in a moment here. Oh, just kidding. Thank you. Yes. Alrighty. So my name is Emma Giles. I am a host of SciStarter Live. I'm usually here every week. I'm a program coordinator for SciStarter and also a fellow, SciStarter fellow at Arizona State University. I'm joined also by Roland, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, welcome everyone. I'm Roland, the Quality Assurance Coordinator. I'll be posting the links today as usual.
Awesome. And then Trevor's not here with us today, but he will be in and out on different events for this. Before we introduce our guests, I just wanted to give some background as to how to work with these the webinar functions. So you have both the Q&A and the chat available to you. If you have questions about the project or questions about SciStarter or citizen science as a whole, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A. And then for anything related to just sharing an experience or sharing your thoughts on anything or quick little questions or thoughts, you are more than welcome to drop them into the chat and we will address them as we go. We're joined today by a retired business executive who is very passionate about the night sky and very passionate towards nature and all things that help with avoiding light pollution. And so for that reason, we'll be talking about the Dark Sky Network and Globe at Night. Don, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit further?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's I've actually did not even get into astronomy, amateur astronomy, until really late in my life here. And so I've jumped in with both feet. As you can see, I'm involved in a lot of things. And what's really fun for me is to work with library patrons throughout the Metro St. Louis area, and also to work with clubs throughout the US and Canada and the world to get telescopes in the hands of people through the library. So I get to work with a lot of folks, get to see how they go through the same questions that I had when I started, and it's kind of fun to help them get them solved.
Excellent. Yeah, this is a super helpful particular event for all the libraries that have the kit for measuring light in the night too, which is super awesome. Awesome. Okay, before we move on, I just want to do a quick check to see what type of people we're talking to today. So a poll will drop down, thank you, Roland, to ask if you've ever participated in a citizen science event. So if you are listening in, you can also write it on Facebook if you'd like, and otherwise I will wait until we have our answers on the poll. I have a couple seconds. Okay. Cool. All right. I see some citizen science scientists. Excuse me. I see some already citizen scientists. That's awesome. Okay. About half of you are citizen scientists already. Perfect. Okay, now beyond that, have you been to a SciStarter live event before? You are welcome to say maybe if you're like, oh, that sounds familiar. Facebook told me to listen in. I see yeses. Awesome. Okay. Sounds great. Okay, well, we're happy to have you back, or we're happy to have you join us this time around. And lastly, we want to know what type of person you are. So are you already a citizen scientist, an aspiring citizen scientist, a student, a parent, teacher, educator, librarian, or library staff, researcher, bored person on the internet? Everything is valid. You are definitely a part of the group, even as a bored person on the internet. Awesome. Okay, cool. We've got citizen scientists with us. I love it. Okay. I'm excited to have you all feel really familiar and comfortable with these, with this new project, with this project. So just to give us a good baseline for anyone listening in, SciStarter defines citizen science as a collaboration between scientists and those of us who are curious, concerned, and motivated to make a difference. It's how people can make an impact on issues they care about and help science. So in the case of Don, that would be about astronomy and light pollution. So very cool thing to be excited about and actually make a real impact in. As a aspiring citizen scientist, as some of you referenced in the who are you bit, I would like to note that the step number one to becoming a citizen scientist is to join SciStarter.org. If you have an account, that means you have access, well, actually without an account, you have access to an online citizen science hub full of more than 1,600 projects. So as a giant database of projects, you have access to that regardless of whether or not you have an account or not. However, if you have an account, you can actually organize those projects to the ones that you are most interested in. You can track your contributions over time, which is something you can do with Globe at Night as well. And you can create lists for the future and look at a lot more stuff. So beyond that, we also, if you have an account, you can also earn badges and certifications of certain trainings. So we have a Foundations of Citizen Science training that is the basics of all citizen science. And if you take that one, it's about an hour long, you get a personalized badge. I have mine on my LinkedIn to prove I'm a citizen scientist. And you can show that off to your peers, to your coworkers, etc. And beyond that, it also allows you access to a bunch of other trainings. So when you do the foundations, that means you now have access to building data literacy, libraries as community hubs, teaching in higher education, and data ethics, which is super useful depending on what type of person you are and why you're using citizen science. So moving forward, we are going to switch gears. I'm going to go ahead and remove my screen share so we can give that to Don, and then he will take over our presentation.
Okay, great. So I'm really glad to be here, and I don't know about your sky, but at least where we are tonight, it's a little bit cloudy, and so that's okay. You can do Valentine's Day on another night as far as stargazing. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you some very top level discussion about really about loving the stars. At the end of the day, if you know a little bit about the stars in the sky, you can really love them better. But there's also a really important step that you can take today, and that's really learn how to save the stars. And I'll explain what that means a little bit later. And it's going to require you to become a citizen science. So I want to take you back in time when I was a little kid. This is an experience that maybe many of you have experienced yourself, is that I would lie out in the summer on the back of my grass and look up in the sky and, with all my neighbors. And we didn't know anything about anything in the sky. We had no idea. It was a little bit darker. We could maybe see more stars than you would see today, but we just made stuff up. This looks like a dipper, that was Pleiades. I didn't know it wasn't the Little Dipper. I thought it was a Little Dipper. I had no idea that the stars actually moved at night. They went across the sky. Well, maybe I sort of did, but I didn't really know that would affect the stars that I got to see. I had no idea that there were seasons of stars, that if I looked up tonight at the stars in the sky, that 3 months from now, all those stars are gone. I had no idea that the moon, when it got bright, would make me not see as many stars as I really thought about. I had no idea where the planets were or how to find them. I had no idea, or maybe I didn't think about it, that nature at night is different and it responds differently and is part of the outside of experience. Now, if you were to go outside and not doing your homework, there's really nothing wrong with that. I mean, let's face it, it's just fun to go outside. And frankly, it's a lot more fun to be outside than be inside where you're looking at computer screens. This is real life. This is the way that our ancestors we're able to see stars and things like that. But I sort of compare this to where today, I mean, a couple of years ago, my wife and I took a trip and we decided totally to wing it. You know, we're just going to wing it. We're going to go to somewhere. We have no idea where we're staying. We have no idea where the restaurants were. And we showed up and it wasn't a bad trip. But what I've learned over time is that if I go outside, if I go on a trip, I'd really like to know where I'm going to stay and maybe a couple of restaurants that'll kind of get me started. So what I'm suggesting to you is that I'm not going to teach you tonight. I'm not going to, rather today, I'm not going to so much explain all the objects in the sky because you can get that in a lot of places. But what I would like to do is give you some fundamentals about, I wish things that I really would have known when I really got started. Because once I started understanding those things, they made just so much more sense to me when I went out and actually looked at the night sky. So when you would take that trip, you might actually know where, you know, your restaurants are and whatever else. So you'll know a couple basic things. So with that, you want to do a quick poll. I'm going to bring up a screen here, if you don't mind. It looks like I might have given you two same stars there, but that's okay. Yeah, one was supposed to be serious, but that's okay.
Oh, I was curious about that. I meant to ask.
Oh
you.
yeah, I think I just messed up there, so that's okay. You'll get the idea though.
Anybody know which one is which? What is the brightest star in the sky? I have an assumption, but I honestly am not sure.
All right, so how are we doing on our poll here?
Waiting on at least one more person to get us to. Okay, there we go. They might know their stuff, I think, or at least they know they are guessing the same thing. Our most frequent guess is Polaris, the North Star. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. Actually, it was a bit of a trick question. This is one that we get into all the time. Actually, the brightest star in the sky is our sun.
Oh, I had.
And Polaris is actually not even the brightest star in the night sky. It is Sirius. And so Arcturus would be the third. So it's so often easy to forget that at the end of the day, that our sun is a star, and it's really a very cool thing to look at. Now, you don't want to look at that with you want to make sure that you're safe when you do that. So are you able to see my screen okay? All right. So I'm going to start with some stuff, and I don't mean to be insulting, but I find that actually sometimes we forget this. We probably know this stuff already, but if you're going to go stargazing, it's something I encounter quite often. First off, I mean, obviously decide what day you're going to go. Maybe tonight, not so good from at least where I am. I've talked to some people throughout the country. They have clouds. Probably you do too.Maybe you don't. That's great. But you need to decide what day you're going to go out. One of the things that I often get is a library will come to me and say, I'd like to have a star party. Can we do it at 6 o'clock? Well, the sun doesn't even set till 7:30. So it's not going to be something you can actually see the stars out there. A lot of times people absolutely think they have to go to a dark spot to see stars at all. And that's just not true. If you go into even a metropolitan area, I do programs with our downtown St. Louis, for example, where we can hardly see any stars, but there's still things you can see if you know where to look. But what you need to do is get behind a tree or a building where there's no lights in your face. You need to make sure that no buildings are in your way if you want to be able to see particular something. It really helps to get a sky map. Librarytelescope.org is one place you can get a sky map. There's actually maps in English and Spanish. I love the stellarium-web.org. It's an online thing you can just look up and you can find stuff in the sky. It's all free. And there's a lot of mobile apps. Every time I go out and do stargazing, there's all these people saying, I love this app. What do you think of this one? And this is very cool. And they'll hold it up and all that. That's really good. It does help occasionally to take binoculars if you have them. You can look certainly with just your eyes. And if you've got a telescope, that's great. But you probably ought to decide maybe at least an object that's a goal. And that means if you look up a map, you'll be able to find a particular object and at least look for that. That'll help you make a more, I think, enjoyable evening. And obviously, when you get down to the night, you really need to check for the weather. But this one here, I get caught on all the time. I don't dress. I dress when it's really warm. You know, I'm thinking I don't need to wear a coat. And also I get out there and it gets cold. And if you're out there anytime at all, you'll be surprised how that'll sneak up on you. All right, so let's talk about things that you may not know. Okay, so this is very common. We'll go out and we'll look at a telescope through the sky, and people are thinking the left-hand side. There's NASA. There's Mars. Am I going to see it? Is it going to look like that? Well, I'm sorry. It's not going to really look at that like that, even with some pretty good sized telescopes. Frankly, Mars will look like an orange dot right now. It's going to be pretty tiny. There are ways that you can magnify it, but that takes more work. But on the other hand, that little picture of the moon on the right, I took a picture with my iPhone through a library telescope, and that's what I got. I didn't even really try to focus that well. You can get some amazing things if you really just do some simple stuff. And there's actually a little citizen science project on SciStarter that you can do that. Very cool. There's a lot of stuff, but you need to make sure that you set your expectations to be realistic. The interesting thing about this is you're really talking about real world science. So this is something that you're not going to get, clouds come, conditions change, all that kind of things happen in real time. Okay, so this is one I did not have a clue when I first started. The moon, the phase of the moon makes a big difference on what you really see. As it turns out that if you were to get a new moon, that's where there's no moon for one night or so, and then it starts becoming first quarter and full moon. During that period, the moon is always up before the sun even sets. So you can go outside. We do this with libraries all the time. Before the sun even sets, we're able to go outside and look at the moon, and it'll get dark. That's great, but if you want to see more stars, you need to go after the full moon, whenever the moon rises later and later every night, so you can get the most darkness. The moon is very bright, particularly when you get to full moon, and it can actually wash out, and particularly in a city where you already have challenges with light pollution, it can particularly wash out the stars. So right now, for example, we're past full moon, we're into the waning gibbous, and so this would be a good time over the next week or so to really go outside and take a look at the stars from your location. Okay, so this is one that I kind of knew on the left-hand side. I knew the stars sort of rose and went across the sky at night. I kind of got that when I was a kid, but what I didn't understand that there's actually seasons of the stars. As we, as Earth, go around the sun, it's like going around a merry-go-round, okay? You're looking at different parts of the sky a little bit every night. So that means the stars rise 4 minutes earlier every night. Doesn't sound like a lot, but over 3 months, if you look at stars tonight in the sky straight up, those stars will not be in there. And I got completely fooled by that when I started, because I thought I had all the skies figured out, all the stars in the sky figured out in September. And by golly, I went 3 months later and there wasn't a thing up there that I could recognize. And I said, I don't understand how that really works. So if you understand that, that's why you'll need a map for the month that you're in to look in the sky. That's the way that really works, okay? Okay, I have fun with this one when I go to the libraries. I ask people where north is. And you'd be surprised how few people really know where north is, but you've got to know where north is because you need to know where the North Star is and where the south is and so forth. So it's good to have a compass. Most of your phones, mobile phones will have, at least my iPhone has a compass. That's great. And if you don't have a compass, all you got to do is just look at the sun, face where the sun is setting, and point right. That'll get you pretty close to north sky. That'll really, really help you, I think, a lot. All right, now, let's say that you figured out where north and south and east and west is. You need to know, if you get a map, this map, by the way, you can get from librarytelescope.org. It's prepared by some people in the Astronomical League. There's a Spanish and English version of it. It's a pretty simple map, but it'll give you the big stuff that you need to look at. So what I would do is I would take this map and I would hold this in front of me, and I would see the south. You can see down here, the south is down on the map. I would face south. Okay, holding this out directly in front of me. And as soon as I get all that lined up, I'm facing south with a map in front of me. I'm going to hold this above my head like this and look up. And that's going to be how that map is oriented for your sky. So you'll be able to match the things in the sky based on the direction. Of course, if you were to face north, you would turn the map completely around where north is on the bottom, and then you would face north and hold it up. So that's going to give you an idea of how to orient your map. And that's very important, because if you're trying to figure out where something is on a map, you need to have the map, just like anything else, oriented to the direction that you're going to be. Okay, so this is one thing that, again, I didn't really realize. If you can imagine in the morning when the sun rises, if you can see where the sun rises, say there's a tree or a building where it starts, and then you imagine the sun coming across during the day, how high that is, and then where it sets at night. That is the path called the ecliptic, okay? It's very important. On this map, it's going to be orange. And it turns out our solar system is pretty flat. So all the planets will fall in that really simple range, okay? So you can see right here that I've got this map. There's Mars. Mars will be up pretty much tonight. And you'll have Jupiter will be setting pretty early, but you can still get Jupiter through even binoculars with, you'll be able to see the Jupiter's moons pretty well. And then there'll be Venus that'll be setting pretty quickly. So they'll be setting fairly quickly, but Mars will be up. And Mars, again, will be more like a little orange dot, still cool. If you've got a really good telescope, you can start trying to look for the polar caps, but that's going to take a little bit of work and a little bit of expertise, okay? So now that you know there's an ecliptic, and you know it's the sun's path, you now know that if somebody were to point, let's say you were to look north, and somebody says, that looks like a planet, you now know that's not where a planet will be, right? A planet will be on the ecliptic, which is a little bit south for us in the Northern Hemisphere, and that, you know, that really won't work, okay? So you can be pretty quickly figuring out where things, the big things are at least, okay? So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here on this little map, and I'm gonna circle the area. You can see the ecliptic, that orange thingy up there. It's kind of like an orange stripe, okay? And you can see Mars. Mars tonight, if you were to look pretty high in the sky, it'll be a little orangey thing about where that sun's path is. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you can see Orion. In fact, the little circle is a really cool thing called M42. It's a star forming region. And if you look in a telescope, it'll be a little puffy white kind of thing. It's kind of cool. The signature stars that most people can see are really right here, these 3 stars in a row. So if you look at Mars and you see those 3 signature stars, that is really very, very cool. And by the way, if you look at them in binoculars and you get any kind of darkness at all, you'll start seeing that. And up through a telescope, they're just, this whole M42 area is just magnificent. And with the way I like to categorize this area, it's really an area where stars are born. Hey, what better for Valentine's Day? You got this wonderful thing where stars are born and you're actually connecting with it. And around this area, if you were to look around, once you find out where Mars is tonight, you can look at the Pleiades. That's the one I used to think was a little dipper when I was a little kid. Very, very pretty in binoculars. Okay, so these are all things that if you just kind of focus on this little area right here, let's say tonight or over the next couple of nights, it'll be just really a wonderful area to look at. And it's really just a lot of fun. Okay. All right, so I talked a little bit about sky maps. There's actually a lot of really good resources, and I really suggest that you take a look at a couple of them, because if you get them ahead of time, you could start studying them just enough to where you at least know your way around. I mentioned librarytelescope.org. That's a website that has over, I think, 900 locations of libraries that have telescopes you can check out. We also have maps in English and Spanish that you can get. I like a website called skymaps.com. It's a free download. You got Northern and Southern Hemisphere. There are wonderful maps on there that not only tell you a map, but also things you can see with your naked eye, with binoculars or telescopes. Really wonderful kind of thing. And then we have a couple online things. Stellarium-web.org is really fun. You can just literally look on a website and you can simulate what you're going to see. I was looking, by the way, at Starlink was a kind of a big thing the last couple of days. They launched it and there was beads of these Starlinks going across the sky. You can kind of get an idea of where the Starlink satellites are. You can look at google.com/sky. That's a nice free one. And there's a bunch of mobile apps. So one of the ones that a lot of people like is Skyview Lite. I have a bunch of them. Actually, I bring up different apps for different purposes. And again, librarytelescope.org. There's actually a world map. You can pull up the US or Canada and click on your province or state and then drill down and find a library that's local to you that might actually have a library telescope. Okay. All right, so this is a very well-known picture kind of thing. This is Europe, by the way. We're looking at a satellite view of Earth, okay? I mean, my first impression, I don't know about yours, is that, wow, this is really cool. But on the other hand, as I learn more about this through some of my work with International Dark Sky, I'm thinking, well, yeah, but that's really wasting an awful lot of energy, okay? And the more I learned about this, the more I realized that, wow, that's not really probably a very good thing. I mean, at first glance, it sounds really pretty, but it's really a big issue to have that much light going up in the air. You say, well, okay, do I really care about it that much at the end of the day? Well, you might say, okay, so I can't see the stars quite as well as I'd like to from where I live, you know. And by the way, right now, 80% of all people in the world and 99% of the US live in places where the night sky is actually fouled by light pollution. That means when you look up, you can't see what your ancestors got to see at all. Okay. So you might say the night sky is not a big deal. You know, I can travel maybe an hour or so out of town, but there are actually implications for human health. And obviously wasted energy, all that light is being wasted. I mean, anything above your eye level, I mean, why would you light up, for example, a tree, the top of a tree in the middle of the night? I mean, what's the point of that? Is there some point to really doing that? A lot of people say that you need to be safe by having all these lights, but the truth is, it's very often that the bright lights make really dark shadows, and crooks like to handle, you know, they like to hide in those shadows. And frankly, there was a study recently where literally a street light was turned out. The street lights were turned out on the street, and crime went up on the other street where the criminals could actually see in the cars pretty well. Okay, so it's really like, okay, it sounds like it's a good idea to have bright lights are really safe. That's not necessarily true. But what I really learned to understand better is wildlife. Birds are having troubles migrating. Fireflies don't come out whenever it's too bright. There's all kinds of issues with the night simply going away for a lot of insects and things like that. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it really is causing a major disruption within just the last 100 years or so of nature. And that has long-term implications for ourselves because for example, insects are pollinators. If we get rid of insects, then we don't get pollination, we don't get plants, we don't get our food. So these are all important things. So when I say save the stars, what I'd like you to do is think about becoming a little citizen science. Okay, so I know that Emma's talked a little bit about SciStarter. I love SciStarter. There are thousands of projects on there. And one of the things I suggest that you do is simply create an account and go on there and just explore this thing. There's everything you can think of, everything from water to pollinators to all kinds of stuff in the night sky. In fact, I even created a little project called Dark Sky. If you go to scistarter.org/dark sky, that talks about night. That means not only stuff you can see in the sky, but about pollinators in the daytime that are being impacted by this. So there's a lot to really learn and understand about becoming a citizen scientist. One of the focus today for me will be on what's called Globe at Night. And that's a very well-known, in the amateur astronomer world, very well-known project where what you're doing, you're simply going outside and you're looking at the night sky and you're making an observation of how bright the sky is. Now, in 2022, they had about almost 20,000 observations. And in 2023, they're asking for your help to get another 20,000 observations. So you might say, well, you know, do really scientists even really use it? Are you just, you know, playing a game with me that's kind of fun to do, just to do SciStarter? But the truth is, there's a pretty significant finding that just came out. So as people are trying to protect the night sky, we had worked on the assumption that based on satellite data, they looked at the Earth, these satellites gathered this data and said, look, the light that we see coming up, and we measured over time, it's about 2% growth per year. That's what we're seeing, okay, the growth. But what it turned out, the people that did the observations through Globe at Night, what they discovered is that from Earth, that didn't take into consideration their eyes. Their eyes see a much wider range of light than those satellites. And all the lights coming from buildings that the satellites don't see are also impacting what's going on the life around us. So when they figured out the real increase based on year after year after year of observations, they said it's not 2%, it's more like 10% per year. Okay, and that is significant. That tells us that our plans to control light and the impact of nature are much more significant than we would have ever thought. So if you take a Globe at Night, it's a really simple concept. I mean, I love the simple concept here. So what you're really doing is, let's say you're looking at Orion tonight. Now, we've taught you how to do it, right? You've learned how to find Orion. You would look at Orion tonight or the next few nights when the moon's not up, okay? And you might see something like, well, here's the 3 signature stars. Yeah, I can see those pretty good. I can see this, and maybe I can see these or not. And so you say, well, I'm not sure that's exactly what I see. So let's say that I'm going to go to one of 8 photos. I'm going to continue to match my photos up against what I'm seeing. So I go to this photo, it's the second one, and say, well, I can see more than that. I mean, I can see Betelgeuse and Rigel and Sirius and a few things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go more like here. Yeah, that's probably pretty close. You can ask your significant other, what do you think? You think that's a good match? Yeah. Okay, that's great. So what you're going to do is you're simply going to match up the stuff. Now, there are some rules. You have to have no moon. You have to have a certain time of the night that you do this. This is to help it make it scientifically significant. But it's a pretty straightforward process. Okay. So to actually do a citizen science program, I'm suggesting this. The first thing I want you to do, you're going to like this anyway, is just go out to SciStarter, create an account, explore the darn thing, have fun looking with all the really wonderful things on there. Then I'm going to have you search for Globe at Night, and then you'll be able to learn a little bit about the steps. And then when you go out tonight, or whenever night you go, you can go out and click on either the SciStarter, go through, but you're going to go to globeatnight.org/web app, and it's going to bring up some stuff. And I'm going to model that just for a second here. It won't take us long to do that. Or you can write down, if you don't have computers, you don't have phones, you can simply write down the things you need to do and go out and look at the picture comparisons, and then come back to your computer later and simply do it. Okay. So I want to stop share. And if you want to do a little poll here, I'm going to do one more thing, and we'll take you into a live demo here.
The poll, by the way, says the stars above us are in the same place every night. Is this true or false? And you can go ahead and answer that. Righty. Ooh. We have one contrarian. That's pretty funny. Awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and end that poll in a second. Any last minute? No? Okay. Awesome. All right, we had one contrarian, but the majority of you argue that it is false. These stars
Well,
are
they
not
could,
in the same
they
place.
could probably certainly argue that, you know, they're always in the same place, but only from our observation from Earth. But the point is, I think that you got from what I was explaining before, is that the skies do change across the sky. It's important to know that if you're really going to try to compare it to maps and things like that. So most of the star maps, by the way, are geared for about 9 o'clock at night. And for most of the northern hemisphere are geared for about 40 degrees latitude. So your skies will vary different slightly from that. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, if I can get this to work here. All right, so you should be able to see the SciStarter page. So I'm going to pretend for a moment, oops, that I just logged in, which, you know, of course, it's not going to be there. So I just logged in, and I'm going to go to Globe at Night. I'm going to simply type in Globe at Night. And you can see right here, oops.
I think you're on the blog site. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that
yeah,
right?
SciStarter Home, that one that you have.
Okay, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, now you're logged in too. There you go.
Okay, there you go. Globe at Night. So Globe at Night, I've logged in. I'm going to do a simple search in Globe at Night, and you can see that here's the Globe at Night icon here. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to click on that. Okay, this is what you would do just typically after you've explored all the other wonderful citizen science things. So here's a Globe at Night project. And what I'm going to do is you can read all the goals and all that, but I'm going to simply go down to how to get started. And I'm going to go down to this little web app right here. And let's pretend that I'm now out in the night sky. I've either clicked directly on the web app, but the most important thing is I've already created my account in SciStarter because I want to get credit for my work a little bit later. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. And it brings up a very simple step-by-step thing. So if I was working off my phone, my date would be filled in automatically, the time would be filled in automatically, and where I'm located would be filled in automatically. Or if you're obviously doing this on paper, you can fill all this in by hand. But the most important step was, so step one would be saying, I want to put your date and time that you actually was outside. It's got to be within 8 to 10 o'clock range. I want you to tell me where you were, because they want to know obviously where if you're downtown or whatever else. And then here's all the maps. See, I'm looking at mag 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to be comparing what I'm seeing in the sky to one of these pictures. Very simple, right? So I might say, well, there it is. I think that's my best shot. You guys can have a nice discussion between you and your significant other and decide what's yours. So I'm going to scroll down and say, well, we really like to know what your skies look. If it's clear, that's one possibility. Maybe there's a portion of your sky, a quarter of the sky's got clouds. That's going to make a difference, obviously, clouds. And then you would write down some kind of sky conditions. Maybe it's very clear, maybe it's humid out, whatever you want to say. Now, you could probably skip step 5. There's a sky meter that a lot of us have. We will not only do these observation the way that you've done it here, but you can actually write down a reading, but we're going to skip that. And the most important step right here to give you credit is step 6. You're going to type in the email address that you have created on your SciStarter.org, and you're going to submit your data. And that'll actually give you credit back to SciStarter to do this. Now, that very simple step, which could probably take you 5 minutes at most, can actually add up and make a world difference, because all this data is actually real data that real people, real scientists are really using. And so I think that is something that you really should consider doing. So what I've tried to cover in my little time here is really 2 things. One, I want you to love the stars. I'd like you to plan just a little bit for going out and doing some stargazing. It's fun to do that together. Once you get out, you can actually enjoy the sky, but mostly have fun. But while you're out there, just take a few minutes, go to SciStarter, get your account, do this real observation, be one of the 20,000+, we hope it's over 20,000, that actually make a real difference. And they will be able to see, for example, observations from your area that can actually help them make good policy decisions. And with that, that's really what I had, Emma.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for all that information and for the promos for SciStarter a bunch. I love it.
Well deserved, of course.
Yeah, I did, just as a heads up for anyone who's looking at the chat, I did drop the dark sky page from SciStarter that has a bunch of those projects. So if you wanted to take a look at the ones that relate to pollinators too, that is on there. Okay, gotcha. So another thing to note, actually, when you said the part of the project that you can skip for the time being, I did want to let everyone know, if you are near a library that has library kits, especially the measuring light in the night kit, they actually have that meter. So if you ever want to use that meter and fill out that section, we have that as a part of one of the library kits. So if you hop over to, and I'll drop this in the chat as well, but if you wanted to know if your library closest to you has it, you can go to, oh, that's the wrong one, to everyone, not just to hosts. This library desk locations, if you drop a location there, let's say I wrote in Phoenix, because that's where I live, I would write in Phoenix, Arizona, and then I would be able to see a group of libraries that are close by. So it gives me a whole link. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, just so everyone can see what that might look like. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
It says it's still loading, but it might be visible. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I just put my location in here, and then it gives me all these libraries and actually tells you which ones they have. So, for example, if I went to Mesa, they have a measuring light in the night kit right there. And if I click on it, I can even learn more and see, ta-da! And you can actually see what's included in it. Yeah, super useful. And this is the meter that we use for this one, which is super helpful. So I actually have one of these meters ready for any notice for me to go and check out the sky. So I'm a big fan. Yeah, but the rest of it is very like you don't have to use much at all. I did want to ask, actually, in that in the page that you go to submit information, there was a note on there. I'm going to bring it back up, actually. Or Roland, I'm sorry, I should look at yours first. Oh, thank you. I didn't realize how much I didn't know about stars and the sun. Thanks, Don. I think the stars are aligned for Valentine's Day. Very sweet. Love it. Yes, so if you are going on to the submitting the form, I did want to note also that you, at the time being, while it's, oh gosh, Roland, sorry, I definitely messed that up. We have a form as well that you can go to. So if anything, I believe you can use the form if there's any issues. There's 2 different methods of submission at this point, which has essentially the same things you can go through, has the same images, everything, and the sky quality meter reading is there as well, which is super helpful. So both are available. And then I'm going to go ahead and end my screen share again. Okay. There was a note on there about Orion versus Gemini, or it was using the constellation Orion, and then you could swap to Gemini. Was there is there a reason for that, or like, do you have any comments on that?
Well, some of the months, they actually have only one, and just to clarify, so every month there's a different featured constellation in the middle of the night. So sometimes there's a couple that are really good, and so they'll say give you a choice. Now I like Orion because Orion's got the signature little triple stars there. They're really fun, but Gemini is fine too. It's just you have to pick one, and just whatever. Maybe your loved one is a Gemini and you'd rather use Gemini, that's quite fine, you know. So, but you want to pick one of the ones that they suggest for that month, because that's what everybody else will be comparing against. That makes sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, that is super helpful. Wow, cool. As a person who is super interested in the night sky and learning constellations, but every time I look up and I get confused because of what I'm looking at, do you have any advice for beginner astronomers who are trying to figure out what to really focus on when they look at this project or looking at the night sky in general?
Well, I think at least from the library point of view, some of the more popular objects are obviously the solar system objects. If you get Saturn, Saturn's actually not up, and that's the confusing part. People will say, well, let's have a star party so we see Saturn. Well, it turns out that Saturn's not up, you know, at a particular time, but Jupiter right now is up, and those are very popular to look at. There's also some really wonderful, like, for example, Pleiades, called the Seven Sisters. It's just gorgeous looking through binoculars. And sometimes telescopes seem to be the first choice of everybody, but they magnify so much you can't see the whole thing. You can't see all the Seven Sisters. And it's just really so pretty to be able to do that. And most of us have binoculars of some sort, right? And in fact, we use binoculars as a tool sometimes to find something we want to look for in the telescope. A good example, we've been all about the comet right now, CT-20022. It's really kind of cool. And so we will try to use binoculars to locate that in the sky so we can actually put our telescope on it. The comet moves, so it's moving across the sky, and we want to know where it is. We do the same thing with planets. Sometimes we can't see them with telescopes yet because we don't know where to find them, but the binoculars help us do that. That makes sense? So
Yeah,
I would say that just to understand the maps and have a map for the current month is a really good place to start. And look for the really big stuff. They're probably the brightest things will be on the simple maps that we have. And that's a really good place to begin.
excellent. That's good to know. Oh gosh, I had another question. I totally forgot what it was. I'm going to look through the chat just in case anything popped up. But if anyone does have a question, please feel free to, you could even raise your hand actually, and I can allow you the permission to speak if you would like. So feel free to do that as well. I'm looking through the chats. If you did send anything, you can send it through to everyone. I'm so glad you're learning a lot, Shirley. Happy to see you. You can click on view summary of data submitted from this machine. Thanks, Roland. Yeah, that is very helpful. So you can get more information as well. Great for students and their families. Absolutely. Yeah. If you know any students or teachers or anything and you want to share this information with others, you're more than welcome to share this with them. And this video or just the project in general is super. That would be super, simply put. I don't think, yeah, I think that was it for questions. Gosh, I wish I remembered what my question was. I feel like, it was about the apps actually. You mentioned that you use different apps for specific purposes. I only have the one that's called Night Sky. Do you have a specific reason for that one, or what are your reasons behind them?
Well, there's different apps for different purposes, and I don't have all the names here, but one app, for example, is really good. I'm always getting the question about how far something is away. And by the way, we don't realize, and that's another thing that you don't think about when you're looking at stars. We think it's like a little bubble and they're all painted up there, but there's significant differences. Just the North Star, it takes over 300 years for that light to get to us. That's 1700. That light is taken to get to us. And so when you really start thinking about it, it's just really a significant thing. So sometimes that one app is really good. As soon as I put a star, it'll say it's this many light years away. So if I have people asking me that question, I will pull that one up. Sometimes there's one, it's a little couple dollars, I think, called Star Walk. I like that one because the graphics are great. When I go personally, I use SciStarter Pro because it'll actually run my telescopes and track my projects. There's Skyview Light. The Stellarium that I showed you on the web, there's actually a version of that you can put on your app. It somewhat depends whether you're doing iPhones or Androids. Most of them work both, but and there's also Google Maps, Google Sky, which is fine. Most of the time, I'm wanting something that will if I point my phone or mobile app in the right direction, it'll show me where it is, and then I can scroll forward to see what's coming up later that night. That makes sense. So there's really a lot of choices at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I've used Night Sky to talk to librarians about little cheat sheet versions of how to get more information if you're not sure how to proceed on those. And it's very fun to use it even during the daytime and be like, see, you can even see what'll happen later because you can't, it'll still show you the night sky, even though it's not what you can see during the daytime.
And I know that the world is going to tech, and I love all that, but sometimes just the old printed maps are kind of fun because you can actually draw on them and make notes on them. And the planispheres, if you were showing me some planisphere in that that's a checkout kit a while ago. What I love about planispheres is that you can dial them and change the night sky based on the time and the season that you're in, and you can see what will be coming up, and you can kind of pretend like you're moving across the sky through the seasons, and it'll show you, for example, one of the things that people ask me, they always say, well, when will Cygnus the Swan come up? And guess what? Cygnus the Swan, it'll be coming up maybe next season. So if you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, guess what? Cygnus the Swan might be there, because that's actually the next season stars will come up in a very early morning. So if you're really impatient, you want to find something, that's a good way to do it. So there's a good example. There's a red light. A red light would be used to not mess up your night vision. One of the very common mistakes that people make is they will look at their phone in a white light, and guess what? That completely messes up their night vision for 20 minutes or so, right?
Oh my gosh.
So you're thinking that this is helping me find this. So most of the apps have a red light option so that you can make the red light red instead of white, and that allows you to see stars for better. So if you're walking up and you're going to look through a telescope, and the first thing you do is you look at your phone to see, you check text messages before you do this, and you go look at the telescope, guess what? You're not going to see as many stars for all. So,
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, and by the way, going back to the International Dark Sky, if you're checking your phone right before you go to bed, the melatonin is shut off as soon as you look at your white light in your phone, and it'll be at least a half hour or more before your melatonin comes back. I mean, where you get adjusted, where you can actually get to sleep. So that's really destroying your ability to sleep at night through the melatonin that's really going on. So there's really some good stuff here. Even those 3 items, there's a sky meter, which you hold that up and take a measurement. I do suggest that you do globe at night, because the globe at night is actually what your eyes see, not what that instrument is measuring. So you can do both, really. You can do your measurement from what you see and then add the little sky quality meter, and they're going to compare what you're seeing to what that measurement is. That's helpful data for them for science point of view, right? And then the night sky, I love the little planisphere. That's very nice.
Does this planisphere work for anywhere in the world, or do you have to get a unique one for you?
There's a northern hemisphere, and there'll be a southern hemisphere. Okay. And so what you have to do is it's very simple. You just simply dial the planisphere to where the date and time match to when you're going to be looking, and then it will show you the sky at that moment. And so if you move the time, let's say you start out at 9 o'clock on February 14th, if you move it to 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, you'll see the stars moving across the sky like I was talking about, right? And also, if you move it further to another month, then you're going to be seeing the next month's stars, whichever direction that you're going. So it's really helpful to be able to, it helps me understand what to expect up in a few months coming up. That makes sense. And so that little portal is like having a little sky map for 1 month at 9 o'clock. That makes sense, or whatever time that you did dial it to.
Right,
So
yeah, so
these are very common, and in the International Dark Sky, we actually require them to take sky quality meter measurements, in different parts of their park. And so, but I think globe at night is very important to take as well too.
Excellent. Love it. This is so much more information that I didn't even realize I needed more info on. Definitely helps. Also, if anyone does need the data sheet that's separate, like if they don't want to do it online immediately, you do have access to a version of it to help you understand what's going on. So like step 2 being where you are and time and date, etc. It guides you through all of what you'll see on the form. So super helpful if you're trying to avoid looking at any lights.
If you poke around a little bit on the Globe at Night website, that's okay, leave it. What you'll find is that you'll actually see your observation show up in the data. There's a data set that you can get, and it'll actually show up. And if you do a separate sky quality meter one, it'll show up as well. You have to pick the selection of which you are. but it's very cool to know that your data really did show up on that database, and it really has made a really difference. I think it's really fun to know that.
Yeah, absolutely. That is helpful. It's nice to see what you've done. Actually, I think Roland showed us one of those links there, so I'll go ahead and share it while I'm here. The view summary of data submitted. I believe, is this what you're referring to? Or this is only for
no,
guys?
I think there's actually a place that you can download. I believe you can actually look at the real data. Now you have to go back. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I have looked at it, and I've actually tested that it actually worked. And so I submitted a data site, and then I went out and actually pulled it up.
Nice.
There's
Yes.
a really good phone app too that you can download, and it really simplifies this whole process. It's pretty nice.
Right here potentially.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, and for libraries, there's our kit.
There you go. There's your kit, right? Yes, I have one of those kits, and they're very nice.
Yeah, they're super helpful. I'm a big fan of the sky quality meter, because I did not know that was a thing. Yeah. Awesome. This has been so chock full of information. If anyone does have a question, you can go ahead and drop it in the Q&A or the chat before the end of the hour. I just wanted to go through a couple of leftover items, but we can interrupt to talk about any of these things as they come up. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Go. Okay, so we talked about Q&A. If anything does come up, let me know. Also, as a reminder, you can get credit through the SciStarter affiliate program. So if you drop your email address where Don showed us in the bottom right-hand corner, it will tie it to your dashboard. So you'll receive credit for every observation. I do want to let you know about upcoming events. We have kind of a unique set of events coming up. Next week, we're actually talking about platforms and resources for citizen science project leaders. So if you know any researchers, if you are interested in seeing like what the difference is between all the platforms, you are more than welcome to join. We'll be talking about how they differ and how we all work together to make sure we do all the citizen science projects that need our volunteer work. And then on the next week, we have a resources for everyone. So anyone who's new or very much a veteran contributor, this is all the resources to get you into being the best possible version of a citizen scientist that you want to be. So those will be coming up by the end of February, and then we'll move into March. If you need any information on any of these events, we do have our blog.scistarter.org that has all the updated information as we receive it. Okay, and then lastly, we have citizensciencemonth.org. Citizen Science Month is in April every year. This is a month where we do our biggest push for as much citizen science as we can. We get everyone involved. It's a big celebration. Actually, Don, are you doing any events during April?
Yeah, we'll be doing some Globe Night stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited for that. I'll be checking in with you to know what's going on so we can see if we can get more people involved. And then as always, if you've been to these events before, we have 1,000,001 resources. So I'm just adding these up for you again. We have an Ask the Community or Ask the Project Leaders functions within projects. You can always email us at info@scistarter.org. We have a podcast, we have trainings. Actually, the most recent podcast involves Don, had a little mini interview to talk about these things. So if you want more of Don, it's a great podcast. I listened to it the other day. Very Valentine's Day forward too. So for different activities you might want to be doing today or within the next week or forever. All of them are available forever for the time being. And then of course you can always find your next project on the SciStarter Finder that Don actually showed us as well, which is super awesome. So thank you for that. Awesome. Okay, that was a whole lot of talking, a lot of things. Thank you so much for joining us, Don. I appreciate your time, and that was super duper helpful. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will wait a couple of moments in case there are any more questions. I see I need to check the chat just in case. Oops, where'd it go?
Emma, one of the things that's kind of fun that we had a library do this. They actually got into competition. They were trying to get as many Globe at Night observations from their area as possible. So they adopted a street, for example, that where all the people on the street did this. So you can actually have a lot of fun. I'm not sure if there's a Guinness World Record kind of thing, but I bet you could really make a note. And I know this much, the scientists will definitely notice that you made a lot of observations. So kick it up a little bit, get all your friends and couples out there and just make a bunch of observation. And heck, you might even make the news for all we know, right?
Oh my gosh. Wait, is this all like on the same night in like different locations, or how is this?
Yeah, so Connie Walker is one of my friends who's involved with Globe at Night, and they had what's called Adopt a Street. In other words, the entire street, everybody said, we're going to just go out and do Globe at Night measurements. And so it's just, they all go out, and all of a sudden it just, lots of measurements show up. I mean, 20,000 across the world is a lot, but if you get your street to enter 100 observations, they go, wow, what is going on in this place? They are rocking, right? So it's something just to think about and have a little fun with that. And libraries love this kind of competition stuff. There's no reason that you can't get involved and just have a little bit of a, hey, neighbors, we're doing better than you are. We're making real contributions to citizen science, right?
Totally. Oh, I love that. I bet it would be fun to have a competition across the different. Oh gosh, like even Maricopa County is in Phoenix area, and they have like 18 libraries. I wonder if I can convince them all to do a big. Oh, I can. I will definitely be reaching out. Okay. One question before I move on. I know someone asked about the kits. Let me double check what it was.
Yeah.
How can I get my library to offer kits? I am so glad you asked that. If you have a library that would benefit from having kits, having a conversation with their like the front desk people to just ask if they are interested or what things they have for STEM is a good starting point. And if you wanted to, you can connect to us with them, like through info@SciStarter.org, and I can reach out to them personally with you involved to see if we can get them started, because library kits are awesome, and we would love to include more libraries. And you don't even have to have a kit to be a part of our library network. And so if they were unsure of whether or not they want to start with the kits, or if they just want to know like what citizen science is all about, we are happy to connect them with the resources and to get them on the same wavelength as us as awesome citizen scientists.
Yeah, the nice thing about
thanks.
Nice thing about Globe at Night is that you don't even need anything, right? You just need to have a log into SciStarter, because you're going to go out and look simply with your eyes and maybe record it to your phone. So a simple one-page instruction is all you really need from SciStarter of how to go about it, right? That's all you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't let that be the thing that stops you from doing these projects,
right.
for sure. Yeah. Although it is super helpful when they do have not necessarily Globe at Night, but when they have the bigger materials that are more expensive, that's why libraries come in and help a lot, because like our air quality meters are a little bit more expensive. Sorry, we're not the vendors, but the things that we do use sometimes are a little bit more expensive. So it is super nice to have.
It makes it more fun to have a couple of extra things, and they're really not even that expensive, honestly. It's really pretty straightforward. So yeah, it's really good to have the whole kit, I think. I love that kit. I mean, it's just really fun to play with it. And you know what, when I go out and deal with children, let's say families, the kids go for the digital stuff, all electronic stuff. They want to hold that thing up and take their measures themselves. And that's not as much fun for them as just looking at the sky and comparing it to a map. So they love all that electronic stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It makes you feel like a real scientist, which, I mean, citizen science is real science. So you're already doing all the work, but adding a little device there is kind of like, ooh,
that's right.
Very exciting for kids too. All right, we did have one comment actually, Darlene, I believe. I say we aim for a Guinness World Record with you and Globe at Night in April 2024. We set a record in the past with the science cheerleaders, so we have some experience. So we're looking forward to making that happen next year. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm excited. That'll be fun. Also, for anyone who's online still, we're at a minute till. Feel free to ask questions still. But if anyone in here is looking forward to Citizen Science Month events that come up, we have an event page that you can actually add your events to. So Don, this goes for you, especially since you are already aware of planning things for April. But you can actually go to, and Roland, actually, would you mind dropping that link in the chat, the SciStarter.org/add-event. Oh, perfect time. Love it. Yes, absolutely. Because then we can add in those events and just see how giant our base of events are in April. It'll be, I want it to break the database. I'm kidding. Don't do that. But I kind of want it to be a lot.
Oh, let's push it. Let's push it a little bit. Okay, let's try that.
Yeah, let's just push the limit. Let's make it a little bit a little bit too much, so we have
Yeah.
to do something about it. Awesome. All right.
We'll make Darlene buy a new server because she's got so many hits. And she'll be pretty upset about that, right?
Darlene, any comment on that? Are you good?
Yeah, he wants to keep his job, so that'll be really good. He always says, "We'll go for it. We want more stuff."
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, we are at the hour, 3 p.m. Eastern time. I'm at 1 p.m. Sorry, I always get confused. But we're happy to have you all join us today and look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. So have a wonderful rest of your week and happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you,
All right,
guys.
go ahead. And